Post from Indian_boy 786. What is your, I don't get paid enough for this shit, moment? Comment from Brainstick. I used to be a counselor at a methadone clinic. Had a client who was going to prison for slitting the throats of his ex-wife's beloved Rottweilers because I couldn't kill her and it was the best way to hurt her. The day he was supposed to go to prison, he showed up at the clinic. After dosing hours, demanding his dose, he was no longer on the clinic, so legally, there was no way to do this. I stood behind the counter and tried to explain the situation to him. He grew more and more irate and then called his lawyer and put me on the phone with him. His lawyer explained dude didn't show up for prison, was now a fugitive and had pulled a knife on his own sister in her car just outside my clinic. So, dude had a knife. Lawyer told me not to piss dude off. He was violent and to call the cops. By this point, every other therapist and office worker had moseyed the fuck out. So, I told the lawyer thanks, hung up the phone and moseyed the fuck out of the front office and called the cops from the break room. Dude hopped over the counter and trashed the place and left. The bosses asked why I didn't stay and make sure he didn't trash the place. I explained they paid me $10.50 an hour and refused my raise. I was the only man in the building and was left alone with an armed violent felon. Fuck their stuff. And #X200B. Edit. I also worked at Blockbuster in college for chump change. A bunch of dudes shoplifted the fuck out of us and when me and the other guy confronted them about it, they ran out of the door. District manager asked why I didn't put myself between them and the door to protect the merchandise. I told them for minimum wage I'm not putting myself in danger to keep a giant corporation from losing some Twizzlers and a copy of Friday and Armageddon. Comment from chillypyo. Being told that I ruined a woman's Christmas because the supermarket I worked at was out of brandy-infused marmalade. Comment from Teletubbyjr. After 4 months of not seeing my family because I was working full-time and only getting 1 day off a week, I finally quit without notice when they were gonna make me close last Thanksgiving. I had already requested and approved the day off a month prior. I left and never came back. The GM even tried pulling the, "You can't quit, you're fired, ahaha." Comment from herpt_derpt. Manager at a grocery store I worked in my teens refused to pay the waste management bill for several months. When they finally came and emptied the dumpster, there were still mounds of trash laying about around the area. He had me go out and clean all of it up alone. I didn't have any protective gear or supplies whatsoever, and was out in 100+ degree weather. I was only given a bunch of trash bags to put it into. And when I went in to ask for help, I was just given a shovel. I worked 1 more day after that, and after just being given more work to do without so much as a "good job" or "thanks," I never went back. Comment from Darth_Zenik. I used to work at Old Country Buffet, and there were kids who would eat until they threw up. Like all the time. This one case that is seared into my mind was when I was once fixing up the salad bar and I heard "Billy run" scream from an ignorant parent, and then I see this 12-ish-year-old boy running to the bathroom. Only he didn't make it. An unholy amount of undigested red jello came exploded out of him like a fucking volcano all over the Caesar salad, the floor next to the cash register, and on about 5 or 6 diners waiting in line to get in. It looked like he had literally vomited his guts out in an arc about 10 feet in diameter. I had to sweep up the chunks with a broom until a dishwasher with a mop could take care of the rest. Comment from heybudno. When I was 18 and working at a retail store, a baby in his mother's arms took a shit so massive that his diaper couldn't contain it. A bunch ended up on the floor, and the mother ran away. I was not paid enough for that literal shit. Comment from Zymbawa. When I had to stop someone from fucking their cat. Edit. I work with those who have physical and mental disabilities. I was giving the client some time alone in their room when I heard a screeching sound. I leapt up and opened the door and found they had their pants down, penis erect, and a very pissed off cat running out the door. They no longer own that cat. Comment from Forever to Thee. I guess I can go literal with this one. I work in an office environment and my boss at the time was having some stomach issues. I didn't know about it at the time, but it was a pretty regular occurrence for her, the stomach issues. Not what ensued. So she was on a call in her office and was trying to finish the call when evidently Defcon 5 hit and she ended the call, and I just see her running from her office in the "I'm about to shit my pants" walk, going as fast as she can out the door and down the hallway to where the nearest restrooms were. I don't think much of it until another coworker comes back from the break room and asks me to go down the hall and look on the ground and tell me if what she thinks she saw on the floor was indeed what she thought it was. So I do. And I see a trail of a few random little pieces of poo all the way down, and it was definitely poo. I don't know what to think, but my initial thought was that someone stepped in dogshit and tracked it through the office. We also had clients on site to tour our office that day, so I grabbed some paper towels and a trash bin and go start cleaning it up piece by piece. Then when I cleaned it all up from the hallway, I get back into my office area and notice there's also a piece of it over by our copier machine, so I'm thinking it had to be someone in my direct department who tracked the dogshit, so I tell everyone to check their shoes because someone tracked in dogshit. My boss still hasn't come back from the restroom yet at this point. Then one of my other coworkers comes over to me and tells me quietly to stop making a big deal about the dogshit, and I'm perplexed. Then she proceeds to tell me that our boss called her from the restroom telling her she shit her pants, she was wearing a dress but still, and that she needed her to help her figure out how to get a change of clothes or something and sneak her out of the office so nobody noticed. So I went and pulled her car around to the side of the building, and she helped her sneak out and just told everyone she wasn't feeling well and left for the day. To save her the embarrassment, I never told her I picked her shit up. I just told her we got it handled. TLDR. I unknowingly cleaned up my boss's shit and helped her sneak out of the building so nobody knew she shit herself. Comment from jordanmlee. When a thick stream of sweat drained out of this girl's cell phone case, I had to explain to her that her phone had water damage and that she shouldn't work out with her phone in her bra. All the while trying to be professional and not gag while cleaning the mess. I sold phones at Sprint. Comment from From-the-Trailerpark. Plumber owner of a mobile home called and said they had a stinky yard. I could smell it when I pulled up. The mobile home was new and had only been set up for about 8 months. While setting it up, someone didn't tighten a no-hub band of the toilet in the kids' bathroom. 8 months of flush toilet was all over the ground, under the home, and had just started being noticed outside. I told the homeowner to call the guys that set it up to come fix it. I wasn't crawling under there. Comment from shitvan. When my patient threatened to kill me and my family, then brought out a handmade wooden knife from under his bed. Comment from Thinkanywhere7751. I worked at a heating and air conditioning company doing bookkeeping. I was being trained by the company's accountant. If I made a mistake, the owner would literally scream at me full voice. I overheard him talking to his brother, and his brother had told him not to scream at me. The owner said, "You have to tear them down to build them up." I decided I wasn't going to take another day of his screaming after that. Comment from FRGMN7669. Bagging groceries at a major supermarket. The manager came over to tell me that I needed to clean up the bathroom. An elderly gentleman fell off the toilet while pooping, and it was a literal shit show. Apparently I was the most qualified because I was 16. I was handed a broom and a dustpan. I shit you not, sorry, had to. My reward for going above and beyond the call of duty. $5 in store coupons. Sometimes dreams really do come true. Comment from Delanate19. I ran the entire company's financials and general management for $14 per hour. I had a meeting with the owner telling him I need a raise and to hire an assistant. He told me I wasn't business-minded and should be a stay-at-home mom. I quit the next day. Comment from juneauboe. Barista grabby customer grabs drink on the counter. Tastes it. Says, "This isn't mine. I ordered a vanilla latte. This is also iced." I proceed to tell her it's clearly not her drink she picked up then. Am currently making grabby's drink. Then have to double back to make the previous drink for the customer it was originally intended for. Again. 8 hours a day. 5 days a week. Customer service should definitely be paid more. Comment from kitskill. I worked for a summer camp one year that was run by a stereotypically hippy-dippy organization. Now, I personally support this organization, but they had some ridiculous idea about how to discipline children. In that they didn't believe in discipline at all. No timeouts. No raising your voice, even just to be heard. No rewards to be earned or positive reinforcement. No loss of privileges. No warnings. No speaking to the parents about behavioral issues. Nothing. Now, most of the kids were coming to this camp because their parents didn't have the means to send them to more expensive camps, and quite a lot of them had behavioral issues to start with. But none of the kids were monsters. In fact, they were all pretty great. They mostly just needed some understanding and solid boundaries. Unfortunately, With no discipline comes no boundaries, or at least no way to enforce boundaries. So the kids tended to run amok and there wasn't a whole lot we as counselors could do. So I surreptitiously gave a few timeouts to some of the more wild kids and guess what? Their behavior immediately improved and I never had trouble with them again. In fact, they had a better time because they weren't constantly getting into fights with their friends. But I guess the higher-ups found out about it somehow and sat me down to talk about how you just need to talk to them. Find out why they are behaving badly and make them understand the correct way to behave. I knew why they were behaving badly. They were kids in a place away from their parent with no rules and no discipline. They were seeing what they could get away with. In the end, I basically ignored the higher-ups. I wasn't getting paid enough to deal with kids all day without having any way of keeping a bit of control. Regardless, the only problem kids had already had their timeouts and, like I said, they were fine once they knew where the line was. Besides, I wasn't worried about my job. They don't believe in discipline. Comment from TKOism. Worked at a retail store. Fiends would come in occasionally looking to steal shit and the worst we could do legally was ask them to leave, but my boss insisted we get physical with them. To which I obviously told her fuck no. I watched her chase one out of the store one day and she screams at me since I'm standing by the door like, tackle him, and I'm like no LMAO edit. Wow, thanks for the awards, folded hands, and yes I agree with you all calling my ex-boss a dumbass. She absolutely did not operate on company protocol a lot of the time. Comment from Barflyerdammit. First day at the health department. I'm left at the reception desk alone while literally everyone else in the office went out to a farewell lunch for the person I was replacing. As I was on 90-day probation. Wasn't yet licensed and badged. My pay was $7.96 per hour. I'm sitting at reception, and some redneck comes in with a leaking garbage bag and drops it on my desk. It contains a newly beheaded javelina head. His buddy had been bitten, and it needed to be tested for rabies ASAP. I had no fucking clue what to do with a leaking garbage bag of javelina head. He couldn't wait for others to return, so he left a number and split. Turns out, we don't do that sort of thing at the health department. Guy refused to come back. Comment from TFAJubilee. When I was doing 90% of my boss's job in hopes of a full-time promotion that I had been promised for 3 years and he took all the credit and told me my promotion wasn't in the budget. Comment from Skrivus. I worked at Circuit City when I was 17. Heard a noise of packaging being opened in the movie section. Found a guy crouched down cutting open DVD boxes and stealing the discs. He looked at me, held his knife out and said, "Got a problem?" I just replied, "I don't get paid enough for this shit," and backed off. I went to the back room of the warehouse area to call a manager to tell them what happened. Never could get a hold of anyone, so I just chilled in the warehouse area for a half hour to decompress. Comment from epaerl. Bartender here. Grown man threw a lit cigarette at my face and threatened me with physical violence. This was a year or so ago, but a 45, maybe older, year-old man behaving that way towards a 24-year-old female was definitely one of those moments. Plus the people getting handsy and occasional cleaning of vomit. I do not get paid enough. Comment from LC Brown. I was a manager for a well-known lingerie store. Our location was in a failing suburban mall. The store was giant and shaped oddly. There were dressing rooms in odd hidden corners and a few blind spots. The store was located at the end of the mall next to other stores no one really went to. So there wasn't much foot traffic. We were also always short-staffed because no one wanted to work out there. All of those factors made us a prime location for thieves and weirdos. I would have to do laps around the store due to its layout. And I would regularly come across people doing sex stuff in this one secluded little dressing room. The dressing room was in a sort of alcove and was the least visible spot in the store. So it was prime real estate for all kinds of shenanigans. It ranged from women doing strip teases for men, to catching couples having oral sex, to catching couples having penetrative sex, to catching men masturbating. The final straw was catching a man at closing time, masturbating into a pile of cotton panties with the dressing room door wide open. I couldn't take it anymore. I put in my notice the next day. And what was crazy was that corporate always shrugged or laughed it off when I would call and complain that we needed a security guard. I was 21 at the time, and every woman that worked there was between 19 to 30. It was a safety issue. And they'd also blame us for all the merchandise theft. which we were unable to prevent because there weren't enough bodies in that gigantic store to prevent it. I was also dating a guy who also worked in the mall. And he told me that they finally closed up that one dressing room not long after I left. He said a lot of folks were pissed because apparently that one little dressing room was a well-known open secret spot for hooking up. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe.